Jiaoyang civilization was once just one of countless unknown civilizations. Now it seems that it is about to rise. Qin Wuyue thought lightly, and her naked body sank back into the scarlet blood pool and soaked. And outside the hall where she was, outside, in the ancient god temples, countless strong men received such a message. Jiaoyang civilization. In the 5th year of reincarnation, the first world spine was killed. This news swept the upper area of the temple and the entire Orderland like mushrooms after rain. If it were not for the fact that no one could go to spy or get the accurate information during the world reincarnation process, countless people would have wanted to go to Jiaoyang civilization to check what was going on. In the 5th year of reincarnation, the first world spine was killed. This means that this civilization is likely to sublimate by killing 5 world spines. That is a rare event in a century, and the overall strength of the civilization that is sublimated in this way will be greatly improved. Because of this system broadcast from Jiaoyang civilization has made every ancient god temple organization in the Land of Order operate intensively and begin to prepare various countermeasures. At this time, Qin Feng was in the Land of Judgment and had just completed the trial of the 12 Coconut Country players, as well as the trial of the NPC corpse fisherman Mahafanazam. Trial completed. Main Divinity Cap of Judgment Blade. 531 arrive 579. Basic attribute of Judgment Blade increased. 521% arrives in 9%. Physical attack power. 111 arrive 118. Elemental attack power. 109 arrive 118. All attributes. Even when arriving. Cooling speed. 1101% arrive 186%. Attack speed. 1101% arrive 186%. Hit correction. 101% arrive 108%. Since Qin Feng is now at level 40 plus 19 of Double Blade Mastery, which can increase the basic attributes of the dagger by 102%, the basic attributes of Judgment Blade are already very impressive. Even the agility attribute provided by the White Bud Blade has exceeded the 4,000 point mark. These Coconut Country players didn't even raise my divinity limit by 0.1. I still have to rely on NPCs. But this powerful corpse fisherman, a mid-level NPC, only added 48 points of divinity limit. Han Feng realized that it would be difficult to raise the divinity limit of the Blade of Judgment to 1,000 points. Han Feng currently does not plan to touch the high-level NPCs of the high-level Tower of Divine Power. After all, there is not much confidence, and the primary NPCs can't give much divinity limit after the trial. Only the mid-level NPCs are more suitable for trial, but most of the mid-level NPCs are free NPCs who wander around, and their positions are never fixed. They can't be found just by looking for them. There are also killing executioners from all over the place, but these killing executioners are not too strong among the mid-level NPCs. I'm afraid that after the trial, the divinity limit will be less than 20 points. After a few trials, it won't even increase it at all. The higher the divinity limit of the Blade of Judgment, the lower the benefit of the trial. That is to say, it will become more and more difficult to upgrade. Qin Feng did not worry too much. After the trial, he left the trial site with an indifferent look. From the memories of the 12 Coconut Country players, Qin Feng learned their purpose. They were asked by the players of Daxia to try to kill the 45th level epic boss Double Phoenix in one loot to shill with the ability of the NPC Old Man. Qin Feng already knew the code name of the Daxia player who contacted them, which was called the Emotionally Stable Human High Quality Male. But Qin Feng had never heard of this person. It seems that this person is just a middleman. Qin Feng was too lazy to think about it, and directly sent this codename to Wanye Weiyu in a private message, asking her to check this matter, because the underwater breathing potions and forced transfer game area fees of these Coconut Country players were reimbursed in advance by Daxia. And they also promised to give a large amount of rewards after killing the two-headed phoenix. So Qin Feng felt vaguely that this matter might be related to himself. After explaining the situation to Wanye Weiyu, Qin Feng returned to the Black Eye Volcano. He saw the Hell Phoenix mother and son who had just reunited, or rather the mother and son, Ludi and Hill. The two-headed Phoenix sisters were also mothers together, which was really amazing, seeing Qin Feng coming back. Phoenix Sister Hill nodded respectfully to Qin Feng. Master Shadow, thank you for taking care of our child. Phoenix Sister Luti looked serious. Master Shadow, as long as our child can survive, we are willing to obey any order of the Master. Qin Feng glanced at the gray chicken. In just a short while, the little guy has been trained to be obedient and serious. If you don't know, you might think this guy is a serious phoenix. No problem. Quan Feng pondered for a moment, then raised his hand and summoned his abyss puppet to his side. This is the abyss puppet I made. It is very powerful. Through the puppet, I will guide you to a country. You can kill the players of that country in that country, collect lifespans, and try to advance yourself. There are 4 strong men in that country, known as the 4 King Kongs. They are hostile to each other. Although their combat power is not weak, it is not a problem for you now. In addition, even if there is real danger, my puppet is enough to protect you. I have only one request. Half of the lifespan you get belongs to me. Of course, don't kill too many players in that country, lest those guys die completely. Leave them a way to live, so that we can continue to generate lifespans. After the Coconut Country is almost done, go to the Great Australia Country. My abyss puppet will guide you there. Qin Feng explained the next plan to Ludi Hill. This shocked the two-headed phoenix. Sister Hill couldn't help asking. Then our goal is to advance to the legendary level. Qin Feng shook his head. There is no need to determine the goal for the time being. We can advance as much as we can. Mythical level is fine. Ancient level is fine. Sister Ludi was very alert. Lord Shadow, you don't want us to advance and then kill us, so that we can get more things? Qinfeng's mouth twitched. There are so many bosses. I don't need to pick out the obedient ones of you to kill. Sister Luti, it's hard to say. After all, the current progress of Blue Star Civilization is still a long way from refreshing the mythical boss. Without the mythical boss, your development may be stagnant. Hearing this, Qinfeng smiled meaningfully. Who said there is no mythical boss on Blue Star now? As soon as this was said, the Phoenix sisters Luti and Hill looked at each other, all a little shocked, because this sentence has two meanings. First, Qinfeng has already raised a mythical boss in some places, but this possibility is very small, because the boss needs an extremely long lifespan to complete the advancement from legend to myth. Especially under the current game progress, the success rate of the advancement from legend to myth is extremely low. The second one is also the most likely. That is the spine of the world. It's been less than 3 months since the godforsaken game of the Blue Star Civilization came, and he is going to kill the spine of the world. This seems even more impossible. The Phoenix sisters were all stunned. After some thought, Luti and Hill still believed that Qinfeng must have secretly spent a huge amount of money to raise a mythical boss somewhere. As for whether Qinfeng has the ability to kill a mythical boss, the Phoenix sisters have no doubt. After all, they just felt it. An NPC with a terrifying combat power was killed instantly by the Shadow Lord as soon as he appeared. With this strength, even if facing a mythical boss, there is definitely a way to deal with it. Too strong. He will be a legend in the history of the entire godforsaken game. The Phoenix sisters are very fortunate. When they first met Qinfeng, they did not hostile to Qinfeng. Otherwise, I am afraid I would not know how I died. Let's go! Qinfeng raised his hand and controlled the shadow-like abyss puppet, spread the dark death wings, and swam towards the edge of the Black Eye volcano as a boss template. Ludi Hill has a limited action area, but if there is always a target as a springboard for her displacement skills, she can leave her restricted area all the way, just like the beginning. The Great Disaster Hades was lured all the way outside the Magic City. So, this level 45 epic boss, Chaos-born Double Phoenix Lutizel, will follow Qinfeng's abyss puppet all the way to the ruins of the island cities of Coconut Country. The nightmare and domination of Coconut Country are about to come. What makes Qinfeng feel funny is that in the cognition of the 12 Coconut Country players he judged, they all think that the 4 Vajras of Coconut Country will be the strongest in the world if they unite. They really think that if the 4 Vajras do not fight internally, but unite, they can easily kill the epic boss. If the epic boss is killed early, it will not be difficult to kill the legendary boss after developing to the present. This kind of thing, in Daxia, anyone will find it ridiculous, but in the Coconut Country, they really think so. In that case, let you face the reality. Qinfeng looked at the huge phoenix body of Lutixier and disappeared from his sight, thinking lightly. In the previous life, the Coconut Country had invaded Daxia under the instigation of certain forces. Although Daxia did not spend much effort to defend it, that invasion still caused a lot of losses to Daxia and killed many people. In this life, Qinfeng will not give the other party another chance. Start raising pigs directly. Then, Qinfeng returned to the Evil Spirit Academy and brought the crystal ball of the Blue Mermaid. Qinfeng asked the second Mermaid Prince Didi Boboye and the Mermaid Craftsman to stay in the hideout of the Evil Spirit Academy and continue to assist the players of the Sky Guild in various labors. As for the Mermaid Princess Papaxia and the first Mermaid Prince Didi Boji, they brought in the crystal ball and set off with Qinfeng. Go to the Atlantic Game Zone again. Ghost, I will transfer the position of the president to you later. I will quit the guild and you can help manage it for a while. Qinfeng opened the chat window of Ghost and sent a private voice message. Ghost replied with one word, obviously a little confused. In fact, this kind of behavior of transferring the guild president is generally very risky, especially Qinfeng's position as the guild president. There are many NPCs in this guild, especially the guild assets, which have tens of thousands of years of lifespans recorded every day. Once something goes wrong, the loss is hard to imagine. But Qinfeng still trusts Ghost relatively. The most important thing is that even if Ghost really messes up, it will not have much impact on Qinfeng. There will be some loss in lifespan, but it is only a small part of Qinfeng's many income channels. As for NPC, you can get them back by force. So, Qinfeng is not worried about anything going wrong. Before Ghost reacted, Qinfeng had transferred the president and quit the guild in one go. In this way, the Blue Mermaids in Qinfeng's hands, the underwater monsters he summoned, were hostile units in his eyes. He could kill monsters as much as he wanted and search the entire Atlantic game area at a faster speed. Pay attention to the private chat. I'll give you a 1, and you'll open the guild panel. And in the NPC management interface of the Blue Mermaid group, release the advanced function and let the Mermaid Prince attract monsters. Qinfeng sent a private message to Guiling. Okay. Guiling was still a little confused, but she obeyed Qinfeng's orders 100%. At the same time, she looked at the complex management panels of the guild panel after she obtained the position of guild president, and she was a little dizzy for a while. I don't understand. Anyway, just don't care. As long as help the teacher release the mermaid's skills, this girl is still very smart. After taking a look at the NPC function of the Blue Mermaid group, she already understood the purpose of Qinfeng's operation. In this way, the teacher's monster spawning speed will not be super fast. It's hard for Ghost to imagine. It can attract hundreds of miles of sea monsters to gather at one time. How fast will Qinfeng's upgrade speed be? The only restriction is that the Mermaid Prince's ability to attract monsters requires 400 years of life to activate. Although there is a 50% tax rate refund, it still takes 200 years. Of course, this lifespan is not too much for Ghosts. It's even less for Qinfeng. In the Atlantic game area, Qinfeng's search operation began again. This time, the speed is much faster than before. Even Qinfeng didn't let the Gray Chicken go out to search, because in comparison, the search speed of the Gray Chicken and Qinfeng combined is less than 1/10 of the mermaid's. The death wings behind Qinfeng spread out, taking him very fast in the seabed. Swimming at high speed, he held a mermaid crystal ball in his hand. The mermaid princess, Papaxia, with long blue hair down to her waist, hid in the palace in the crystal ball, secretly poked her head out and looked around. There were also many mermaids the size of fingernails surrounding the princess. As for the eldest prince, Didi Boji, he was in the crystal ball, ready to release skills at any time. After becoming the NPC of the Shadow Guild, these mermaids were very well behaved and obedient. Finally came to a deep sea area. Qinfeng sent a private message to Guiling. Then, the mermaid prince in the crystal ball released his skills and began to summon the sea monsters within hundreds of miles around. Groups of monsters surged in and were killed by Qinfeng's Shadowblade bullets, and piles of monster corpses sank to the bottom of the sea. It's a pity that it has reached level 40. For monsters below level 35, the experience and evolution point gains will be greatly reduced. Fortunately, in this seabed, there are mostly monsters around level 40, and those below level 35 are rare. So Qinfeng's upgrade speed is still very fast. What surprised Qinfeng a little was, this time he set out from the ruins of Rio de Janeiro in South America. Just half a day later, he came to a completely dark seabed area. Yes, there is the breath of the abyss. When Qinfeng came to this area, the mermaids in the crystal ball suddenly became nervous, and they all stared at the depths of the dark ocean with their deep blue eyes wide open. The breath of the abyss? Is it the abyss demon eye? Qinfeng was a little sleepy from killing monsters just now, but he suddenly became energetic, although the mermaid princess and the eldest prince said so. But Qinfeng really didn't feel any breath of the abyss. A group of blue mermaids the size of fingernails swam around in the crystal ball, opening their eyes wide, pointing to the dark seabed in front of them, and they all looked a little scared. Gray Chicken. You guard them. Qinfeng thought about it. Summon the Gray Chicken, and let the Gray Chicken guard the crystal ball of the mermaid. Although this crystal ball is made of invincible order, it is too small and can be easily washed away by the ocean current. Just let the Gray Chicken guard it. After letting the Gray Chicken come out, the death wings behind Qinfeng flapped, taking him to the direction where the breath of the abyss came from, moving at a high speed. What is the abyss? This is something Qinfeng still doesn't know. The two things he had come into contact with related to the abyss before were the Abyss Curse Vase and the Abyss Road. Now there is also the Eye of the Abyss. Do you know what the abyss is? Qinfeng pinched the handle of the white sprout blade in his hand and sent a soul message. I didn't expect to get an answer. But to Qinfeng's surprise, Baya actually answered all the questions. The abyss is a mirror world created by the ancient god of the abyss, relative to the game world. In the abyss, all the special effects of equipment and skills will be invalid, including the rules of order and divinity will be invalid. Unless the skills and equipment are abyssalized, they can be used in the abyss, and killing monsters in the abyss world mainly produces extremely precious props, Abyss Shrine, which can make equipment and skills abyssalized. Abyssalized skills can not only be used in the abyss, but also upgrade a grade. A series of soul messages came, which surprised Qinfeng a little. A mirror world relative to the game world. Can this be understood as the back of the god-forsaken game continent? And in that abyss world, all the special effects of skills and equipment are useless, except for the abyssalized skills. Qinfeng suddenly remembered the Abyss Curse Vase. The abyss skills taken out of the vase should all be abyss transformed skills, right? Then how can we enter the abyss? Qinfeng was a little confused again, hearing Baya say this. The abyss world seems to be a good place, but the people who were sucked into the abyss by the abyss cursed vase before have never come back, generally speaking. If you challenge the Abyss Road and break through the 300th floor, you can get the Abyss Bracelet. Or you can also get the Abyss Bracelet by killing the legendary boss Eye of the Abyss. But there is only one Eye of the Abyss in each world. If you don't have the Abyss Bracelet, there are some strange ways to enter the Abyss, but you can't come back after entering. After getting the series of soul information, Qinfeng suddenly broadened his understanding of the Abyss. It seems that the Abyss is really a good place. You can kill monsters to get the Abyss Shrine, which makes the equipment and skills abyssal and upgrades a grade. Then if I have the Abyss Bracelet, can I keep spawning monsters in the Abyss world and upgrade all my equipment and skills by 1 grade? Qinfeng was a little surprised. Baya chuckled lightly. How easy do you think the Abyss Shrine is? Even if you have the Abyss Bracelet, You can't stay in the abyss world forever. Otherwise, you will be lost in the abyss and trapped in the abyss forever until you die. What's more, the probability of this thing being produced is extremely low, and you may not be able to produce one in a month. In addition, when spawning monsters in the abyss world, there is a chance that special materials such as stripping stone, order stone, and strengthening stone will be exploded. The explosion rate of these things is much higher. Of course, it is also possible to directly explode abyss equipment and abyss skill books. Qinfeng nodded. In short, the abyss world is a special treasure map. Staying in it will be like drowning until death, but with the abyss bracelet, you can leave the abyss before you can't hold on. But for Qinfeng at the moment, the only thing he needs is the abyss shrine. Although I can't evolve skills infinitely, I need evolution points. An abyss shrine can make skills abyssal, not only without negative effects, but also upgrade a grade. Originally, Qinfeng thought that he had to save hundreds of thousands of evolution points to evolve the immortal level skills again. But if he enters the abyss and brushes the abyss shrine, wouldn't it be possible to upgrade directly? But Qinfeng sent another soul message to Bai Ya Ji Blade. But sister, how did you know to pause and add punctuation in this message? Bai Ya said angrily. Isn't it because you are too stupid and can't understand it without punctuation? Qinfeng, you are a nice person. Thank you. I will give you a little reward later. Bai Ya was alert. No, I don't want 100 million reward. Qinfeng looked strange. What are you thinking? I mean, if I hit the abyss shrine, I will use it directly for you and upgrade you by 1 level. How about it? Is it nice? Bai Ya, that's okay. The deepest part of the Atlantic Ocean. Qinfeng went all the way at full speed and soon felt that the surrounding seawater gradually became completely still. You should know that the seawater is generally flowing. But as Qinfeng approached the target, the surrounding seawater seemed to be frozen. At the same time, 5 superordinate effect scales appeared above Qinfeng's head at the same time. In addition to instant death and nightmare, the other 5 superordinate affixes were all alive. This is the superordinate affix surround of the Eye of the Abyss. Qinfeng's mind moved, and he evenly distributed his own superordinate resistance to the 5 superordinate resistances according to the current surrounding superordinate affix strength. Qinfeng was completely in no danger. By the time he got here, Qinfeng had already sensed the location of a spherical monster with a diameter of hundreds of meters through the Umbra perception. The spherical monster was originally stationary and did not move, but when Qinfeng approached within a range of 10 kilometers, the spherical monster moved. A wave of shockwaves from the deep sea, centered on the spherical monster, swept out in all directions, almost instantly covering the surrounding 10 kilometers. Qinfeng was still approaching and was directly swept by the shockwaves. You are affected by the speed limit order. Your movement speed is limited to a maximum of 10 meters second. Your attack speed is limited to a maximum of 2 times second. Your skill release speed is limited to 50% of the basic release speed. You are affected by Abyss Sweeping Blood. When you release any skill, you will receive true damage of 51% of your maximum health, ignoring any shield, defense, resistance, and damage reduction effects. Before the fight even started, Qinfeng was directly put in 2 negative states, and these 2 negative states are the order effects of the boss. An ordinary magic immunity and inviolability affixes cannot resist them. This Abyss Eye is quite fierce. Directly limit the speed over a large area, up to 10 meters per second. The attack speed is up to 2 times per second, and the skill release speed is not only not faster, but also reduced by half. It has to be said that this speed limit order directly makes the difficulty of the Abyss Eye strategy soar by many times. In addition, there is also an effect of Abyss Sweeping Blood. When releasing any skill around the Eye of the Abyss, 51% of the maximum health will be damaged, and this damage ignores any shield, defense, resistance, and damage reduction. In other words, 51% of the maximum health will be deducted. Of course, in front of Qinfeng's Shadow Arc, this damage will also be delayed by 3 seconds. This effect is not explicitly called order, which means it belongs to the boss mechanism, and the boss mechanism is the same level and level as the divine rule. At present, I can't break it. Qinfeng shook his head. Anyway, with Shadow Arc, this Abyss Sweeping Blood effect has no effect on him. However, under the influence of the speed limit order, Qinfeng suddenly felt like he had crashed into a quagmire and could hardly walk, which made him very uncomfortable. Break the speed limit order. Qinfeng held the Blade of Judgment in his hand and began to consume 1 point of divinity per second to directly break the order effect. Qinfeng could afford to consume 10 years of life per second. It wouldn't take much time to kill a legendary boss anyway. After just 3 seconds, the death wings behind Qinfeng spread out, taking him through the completely still seawater, instantly traveling nearly 10 kilometers, and arrived in front of the Abyss Demon Eye with a diameter of hundreds of meters. This was a dark deep sea. With the naked eye, nothing could be seen. Qinfeng could only feel with the help of Umbra perception that a huge monster with a diameter of hundreds of meters appeared in front of him, in front of that huge monster. Qinfeng was as small as an ant. In addition to Qinfeng's invisibility and soul invisibility, this huge legendary boss Abyss Demon Eye couldn't find Qinfeng's location at all. It only knew that a player had come within its range, but it didn't know where the player was. Eye of the Abyss. With 46 billion HP, it is indeed the one with the most HP among the legendary bosses. This HP is not much, but Qinfeng felt that this boss was invincible at the beginning. It was obvious that some prerequisites had to be completed before he could cause damage to this boss. Little brother, are you fighting the Eye of the Abyss? Just then, Baiya's soul message came over. Don't you know the mechanism? Call sister to listen. Sister will tell you the mechanism. Unfortunately, Qinfeng was completely unmoved. Old witch who has been imprisoned for 500 years. Stop talking nonsense. Just watch my performance. This soul message was transmitted. He held the dagger in his hand and switched all the upper affixes to instant death, which brought his instant death affix to 340. 2 points. The thief's hand. Take it. Qinfeng's all attributes suddenly soared by more than 3,000 points, approaching the 20,000 mark. Then, 1,000 blade break. Nearly 400 sword strikes instantly landed on the giant Eye of the Abyss. After these two skills, Qinfeng's maximum health was deducted by 102% on the spot. Unfortunately, this damage directly turned into a gray health bar, and it would not really take effect until 3 seconds later. During this period, Qinfeng could offset these gray health bars by causing a little damage and blood sucking. Instant death immunity. After Qinfeng used a 1,000 blade break, the boss did not show the instant death scale, which was obviously instant death immunity. Qinfeng was a little surprised, then changed one and turned them all into nightmare. Qinfeng converted his upper level affix into a nightmare affix of 680. 4. The invincibility of the boss is all pseudo-invincibility, although it can resist damage. It cannot resist the upper level affix. To be precise, it is bloodlock and cannot be said to be invincible. Otherwise, Qinfeng would not have been able to use the nightmare effect to skip the invincible bloodlock phase of the boss. Even for the legendary boss, this point has not changed. In fact, even the player's invincible skills or effects must reach a certain level to resist the upper level affixes. Not all invincible can ignore the upper level affixes. And when Qinfeng converted all the upper level affixes into nightmares, another 1,000 blades break. But unfortunately, the boss is also immune to nightmares. It doesn't matter. Convert it to chaos again. Qinfeng's upper level affixes are all converted to chaos. This time, 1,000 blades break went down, and the chaos gauge of the Abyss Demon Eye was instantly filled up, and it fell into a chaotic state on the spot. Even though the boss's chaos resistance was as high as 70,000 or 80,000, it was still maxed out by Qinfeng's skill, because Qinfeng's 1,000 blades break directly caused more than 2510,000 chaos gauge. Of course, due to the high chaos resistance of the boss, this chaos state can only last about 5 seconds. Although it's only 5 seconds. It's enough. After falling into the chaos state, the Abyss Eye directly got out of the bloodlock state at the moment when its blood bar changed from gray to bright red. Qinfeng first adjusted the upper affix to an even distribution, and then took action. Instant kill. 2. 74 billion weak point attack. Instant kill. 79. 892 billion weak point attack. 2 consecutive instant kills. The burst of throat cut damage directly emptied the blood bar of the Abyss Eye. At this moment, another system prompt sounded in the minds of everyone in the world. Player Shadow Daxia killed the legendary boss Abyss Eye Gatekeeper Hagst and gained 200 reputation points. Accompanied by this system prompt, the gray blood bar that Qinfeng had deducted because of releasing skills was also directly filled up by the blood-sucking effect of the white bud blade. Plus 3. 4593 million? Plus 3. 4590 million. 2 consecutive blood-sucking effects cleared Qinfeng's gray blood bar on the spot and restored it to full blood. And this blood-sucking effect comes from the attack special effect of the white bud blade. Each attack can cause physical damage of 18% of the target's maximum health value, and restore the same amount of health, although this damage is calculated for defense and damage reduction, because the boss has too much health. Every hit of Qinfeng's attack will cause 4593 million additional damage, and restore the same amount of health at the same time when the boss was killed. Baiya seemed to find that a bit difficult to accept. You just use the higher level affixes to break its mechanism. I feel that your higher level affixes seem to be switching. How is it switching? Qinfeng smiled. Want to know? I won't tell you. The original skill of the Son of the Upper Level can freely allocate the higher level resistance. Baiya obviously knows this skill, but she doesn't know how Qinfeng allocates the higher level affixes. These are two concepts. One is defensive, and the other is offensive. And how could she know that Qinfeng's skills can evolve? When the Son of the Upper Level skill reaches the Immortal level and evolves into the Source of the Upper Level, it adds the ability to freely allocate the higher level affixes. If there is no such ability, Qinfeng may really have to go with the mechanism when facing the Abyss Demon Eye. After all, this thing is instant death and nightmare immunity, and the upper level affixes that Qinfeng mainly stacks are these two. If it can't be converted, it is really suppressed by the Abyss Eye, just at this time. Then there was another system prompt, which spread to all regions of the world. Keisham Magic Mirror. Mechanical Cube, Extreme Ice Scorpion, Abyss Eye, Fated Vine 5 initial legendary boss have been killed. Bah. Blue Star Game Zone has opened a special area for all other players. This system prompt is completely useless. But for Qin Feng, he knows. This is the area where the World Spine is located, and it is open. Of course, Qin Feng didn't know where the 5 World Spines were at the moment. Let's look for them later. Qin Feng felt relieved. He planned to deal with the giant corpse of the Eye of the Abyss in front of him first in order to increase his income. Hanfeng even temporarily built a small teleportation array next to him, and first teleported the stone back to find the NPC Shein Laogui and gave the Hand of Greed a sound. Unfortunately, when he came back and released it towards the Eye of the Abyss, he was unable to trigger the additional effect. This is really bad luck. But it's just a legendary boss, so if there is no additional income, then there is nothing. I just hope that when I kill the World Spine, I can get an extra reward, Qin Feng thought. He didn't hesitate. He opened the greedy space directly to check what the Eye of the Abyss gave him. Godly weapons. Qin Feng glanced at the greedy space and clearly saw that a weapon was different from the other equipment. It turned out to be a dagger. Deep Sea Spirit, Blade of Transformation, Divine Armor. Grade, Mythical. Basic attributes. Physical attack power, plus 9788. Elemental attack power, plus 400. All attributes, plus 320. Attack speed, plus 397%. Weakness attack multiplier, plus 1. 5 half. Required level, 30. Special. Nightmare upper level, plus 23. Divinity. 42-42-1. Divinity added every 18 years of life. Rule effect 1. Guardian transformation. Consume 42 divinity points to activate. Lasting 2 minutes. During the duration of the special effect, this weapon will extend a shield to resist all ranged attacks with the attached upper affixes, and reduce 80% of melee attack damage with the attached upper affixes. Rule effect 2. Giant blade transformation. Consume 42 divinity points to activate. Lasting 3 minutes. During the duration of the special effect, this weapon will expand 7 times. The basic attributes will increase by 140%, and the attack and skill range will increase by 700%. This is a divine weapon suitable for assassin professions. It can be said to be a pretty good divine weapon. The upper limit of divinity is not high, so it can only be said to be mediocre. Of course, the 2 rule special effects of this weapon are very strong, even if the divinity is enough. It can be opened successively before entering the battle and take effect at the same time. A Guardian variant can resist all long-range attacks and reduce 80% of melee attacks. A Giant Blade variant can make the weapon larger, increase the attack and skill range, and the basic attributes are more than doubled. Qin Feng looked at this weapon and calculated it a little. If the White Bud Blade is replaced with this variant blade, in terms of damage, it will be improved a little bit, but it is only a little bit. Less than 10% of the final damage increase. In other aspects, this variant blade is completely incomparable to the White Bud. First of all, the instant death affix has a base of 150 points, and after the Ancient Godslay amplification, it has reached 263.7. It is much stronger than the 23-point Nightmare affix of this weapon. Then there is 18% of the target's maximum health damage, which can absorb blood and ensure Qin Feng's survivability in high-intensity combat. However, this Giant Blade variant rule is not bad if it can be peeled off and put on the White Bud Blade. Once it is turned on to make the White Bud Blade bigger, the original 40-30 basic agility can be increased to 972 points. In addition, it can also increase the attack and skill range by 7 times. The consumption is only 42 points of divinity, which is equivalent to 630 years of life on the White Bud Blade. 6 and 30 years of life can be enlarged for 3 minutes. Does this sound like a bit of a loss? Qin Feng looks strange. Of course, the Divine Rule special effects are different from ordinary special effects. It is impossible to peel it off using ordinary peeling stones if you want to peel off the Divine Rules. You must use the Rule Stone, and Qin Feng does not have this thing at present. In fact, in the 9th year of the previous life, the Rule Stone was just a rumor. It is not available on the market at all. Only the strongest players have the possibility to obtain it, and they all use it themselves. Now it seems the output of the Rule Stone should also be the output of the high level of the Abyss Road, where there is a probability of explosion when entering the Abyss to swipe monsters. Or the same as the previous Peeling Stone, Order Stone, and Strengthening Stone. If I challenge the 40th level of the End Road, which is the 2nd level of the End Road, and can get the first place in all civilizations and time and space, can I get the Divine Book for making the Rule Stone? Qin Feng as I have a feeling that this is very likely. However, to challenge the End Road, you must develop to the strongest level at the moment. You can kill the World Spine first. After all, it is a mythical boss. Using the Hand of Greed can get ancient equipment and skill books. Killing the World Spine will greatly increase my combat power. In addition, you can go to the Abyss World for a while. If you can get the Abyss Shrine and use it on the new ancient equipment and skill books, wouldn't it be invincible? That means Qinfeng can get immortal equipment and the initial immortal skill book. His skills can evolve infinitely. Kleinfeng has been curious for too long. Will the immortal skills, if evolved, be the original primary? Kleinfeng's intuition tells him that this is unlikely. The original primary should be the supreme existence above everything else. In other words, there should be more grades above the immortal level and below the original primary. Qinfeng is too lazy to guess. He played with the white sprout blade in his hand, and a soul message came out. What is the grade above the immortal level? Baiya snorted. What do you call me? Qinfeng. Sister Baiya. Baiya chuckled. It's so funny. Sister Baiya when I need her, and an old witch when I don't need her. How can it be so good? You have no conscience. If you want to know what is above the immortal level, just kill monsters and get it yourself. Qinfeng. Forget it. Although Qinfeng was curious, he would know it sooner or later, so there was no rush. But this Baiya, it seems that he really has a lot of life on hand. He kept saying it with punctuation. In addition, Qinfeng was a little curious if the divine rules of the giant blade variant were stripped off from the white sprout blade. Would the white sprout blade feel better after it became bigger? Ahem. Qinfeng then checked the other spoils that the Eye of the Abyss had exploded. In addition to the assassin's divine weapon, Variant Blade, there is also a legendary skill book, Instant Destruction. This skill book is naturally useless to Qinfeng with Aishashi's. Lanfeng's skills now follow his own level, and he does not need other skill books to increase the level. It just so happens that the ghost has recently reached level 30, so I can give it to her. So far, even the Eye of the Abyss that Qinfeng just killed. The 5 initial legendary bosses are all level 30. Qinfeng killed it easily. But the equipment and skill books that exploded are also level 30. This is the progress problem of the entire Blue Star game area, and this also leads to the fact that all the equipment and skill books Qinfeng has won so far can be used by the ghosts that have reached level 30. Qinfeng was not worried about feeding Guiling too much. At present, Guiling is very persistent in improving her level and combat power, even though her combat power is already the strongest in the current Blue Star game area except Qinfeng. She rarely conflicts with other players except for executing Qinfeng's orders. She has been quietly killing monsters, upgrading, and fighting the bosses she can beat. She has killed many diamond bosses alone. According to the current situation, my threat does not come from Blue Star, Qinfeng thought to himself. As the saying goes, the enemy comes from the sky when you are invincible. Qinfeng's real battlefield is in the Land of Order. In comparison, the Blue Star game area will become Qinfeng's back garden in the future. If he lacks resources, he can come back to get them. In the future, whether he goes to the Yulan civilization or the Land of Order, Qinfeng will definitely need his subordinates to help him. If the ghost spirit can't keep up with the development, Qinfeng will be afraid that no one will be available at that time. So, Qinfeng doesn't mind letting this girl develop a little faster. Give her the instant death skill book. This variant blade can also be given to her temporarily. Then she can also kill the epic boss alone. If there is any threat of epic boss in Daxia again, the ghost spirit can be used to solve it. After all, Qinfeng will soon go to the Yulan civilization, although he can come and go freely. He can't guarantee that he can come back when Daxia encounters danger. As for some equipment and skill books of other professions, epic and legendary ones, many masters of Daxia have already risen in level and will be able to use them soon. It's about time to sell some goods and accumulate more life. At this time, in Qinfeng's greedy space, in the spoils of the Abyss Demon Eye, in addition to a bunch of equipment and skill books, there are also 2 sublimation scrolls. Helmet upgrade scroll legendary. Invulnerable. Invulnerable. Attacks that hit your weak points are invalid. This order is quite effective. Anyway, Hanfeng doesn't have order on his head, so just attach it to the Death Hood. After his fatal game skill evolved to the Ancient level, he gained the effect of reducing damage to weak points by 90%, and the order on this helmet makes attacks that hit its own weaknesses completely invalid. It's hard to say which one is better between the two, because although the effect of the invulnerable order is strong, it can be offset by divinity. From a certain perspective, all order effects are just dimensionality reduction attacks against mortals. But for players with divine weapons, the effect of order is just to consume some of the opponent's divinity. Of course, if Qinfeng has enough orders, then the opponent will use divinity to offset his order, and the amount of divinity consumed will increase exponentially. The same is true in reverse. However, Qinfeng has not yet encountered an opponent with more than 3 orders. There is also a sublimation scroll, which is also legendary. Named Over Medical, this is the order scroll for the clothing part. The effect is to double the treatment effect received by oneself, and can overflow the health value to form an additional shield. And the upper limit of the shield is calculated separately, and the upper limit is 1000% of the health value. You should know that there is a basic rule in the godforsaken game. That is, the durability value of all shields is at most 10 times the player's health value, but this Over Medical order can add a shield with 10 times the health value. It is equivalent to a shield with a maximum of 20 times the health value, and it can also double the treatment effect received by oneself. This order is too important for team tanks, but it's useless for me as a lone wolf. It's not as good as the despicable Terminator. Qinfeng shook his head and turned back to rent this sublimation scroll to the Daxia official. Selling is a one-time business, leasing is a long-term business, and it can also be sold together with some stones of order, which is more cost-effective. However, Qinfeng soon discovered a problem. The spoils of the Abyss Demon Eye have been checked. But where is the Abyss Bracelet that was promised before? Just as Qinfeng was thinking this, he saw a circle of black mist appear on his wrist, and gradually a unique and deep pattern appeared on his wrist, surrounding his wrist. So magical. Qinfeng was a little surprised. He tried it and found that as long as he moved his mind, this circle of black patterns would appear on his wrist when not needed. These patterns can be hidden, and this black pattern is the Abyss Bracelet. On the Abyss Bracelet, on the ring, you can see a scale and a red mark. This red mark can be pressed to switch between the Abyss world and the real world. The scale shows the progress of getting lost in the Abyss world. Qinfeng found that there were many introductions about the Abyss on the black pattern. It was basically the same as what Bai Ya said. From this information, it can be known that after entering the Abyss world, the player will gradually get lost and lose his mind as time goes by. If he cannot leave the Abyss world in time, he will be trapped in it forever and become a walking corpse. This means those who were sucked into the Abyss phase before have become walking corpses. After all, they don't have the Abyss Bracelet and can't leave the Abyss world at all. After Qinfeng confirmed again and again that he could switch between the Abyss world and the real world at any time, he was eager to try it out. In that case, go to the Abyss world directly. Hanfeng pressed the red mark on his wrist. The next moment, he heard the system prompt, "You are heading to the Abyss world." In the Abyss world, all your non-Abyss-like equipment and skills will be unusable. All non-numerical special effects will be invalid. All order will be invalid. All divine rules will be invalid. Do you confirm to enter? I am. Confirm. After Qinfeng made his choice, he felt a strange and eerie black fog emerge from the bracelet, spreading towards the dark seabed around him, until it swept the entire world. Originally, the world Qinfeng saw with his naked eyes was pitch black. After all, he was at the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean, and now he found that the surrounding seawater disappeared and turned into a gray scene. He was in a gray fog, floating in the air with his death wings spread out. Welcome to the Abyss world. Man! Qinfeng stopped where he was and observed the scale on the Abyss Bracelet for a while, and found that the scale was not rising fast. At this speed, I can stay in this Abyss world for more than 2 hours. In addition, most of my skills are indeed unusable, except Qinfeng looked at the skill bar. Most of his skills turned gray and could not be used. Only some numerical effects were still effective. This made his attributes no different from those in reality, but there are still several skills that Qinfeng can use. Abyss Withering Curse, Abyss Silence Curse, Abyss Slow Curse. These Abyss Curse skills can be used in this Abyss. Then can I leave the Abyss Puppet here to spawn monsters? Qinfeng had a bold idea. Others will get lost here. Abyss Puppet will not get lost. You can keep spawning in this Abyss world, and it will be fun all the time. Of course. Now Qinfeng's Abyss Puppet is leading Luteisel to the Coconut Country game area. It will take some time to complete the task. Don't worry. Explore this Abyss world first. Qinfeng began to look at the surrounding environment and found that when he was in the Abyss world, his Umbra Perception did not fail, although all non-numerical special effects and abilities will fail. But my Umbra Perception is not invalid. It seems that although this Umbra Perception has no numerical value on the surface, in fact, its perception range is related to the attribute, so it still belongs to the numerical ability and is not disabled. In addition, the Order effect and the Divine Rule effect are all invalid, including the effect of obtaining a shield every second. However, there is still a special effect of the Blade of Judgment in the equipment on his body. This weapon is the original primary divine weapon rewarded by Ashashis. The original primary things seem to be unrestricted in this Abyss. In addition, Qinfeng's skills, including Shadow Blade, Instant Destruction, Shadow Warp, etc., cannot be used here. Only a few Abyss Curse skills are still lit. The most uncomfortable thing is that he can't be invisible, because when he switched to the Abyss world, Qinfeng found that his invisible state was forcibly cancelled, and he couldn't release the invisible skill in the Abyss world. This made Qinfeng quite uncomfortable, just like taking a shower without closing the window. Anyway, he could only check the surrounding situation first. I wonder what kind of monsters there are in this Abyss world. Qinfeng looked around, and his naked eyes did not see any movement around. It was only when he used the shadow to perceive that he realized that a human shadow appeared more than 10 kilometers away. Is that a monster? Qinfeng observed it and looked a little strange, because the human shadow seemed to be a rotten black-skinned player, and the logo on his head was actually a game code name of "I want to pick a lot of cotton." Behind the game code, there was a level 47 mark, followed by a series of countless numbers. Level 47 player. Qinfeng was very confused, but no matter what, the shadow gave him the feeling of a monster, not a player, and there was no mistake about that. Kill him first. Qinfeng found that his professional characteristics and bloodline abilities were not disabled. Of course, only passive, including his Deathwing Angel Flight and the soul-swallowing ability of the Soul Swallower bloodline. They were all ineffective. So the Deathwings behind him spread out, and in an instant, They turned him into a black shadow and killed the strange human shadow more than 10 kilometers away because no conventional skills could be used. After Qin Feng approached the target in just a few seconds, he raised his hand and cast a deep slow curse, a deep silent curse, and a deep withering curse, directly cursing 3 consecutive times, making the opponent almost lose the ability to fight. Then holding the Blade of Judgment, he instantly surrounded the human shadow who almost didn't react, and swung more than 10 knives. Arrow dodge. Arrow dodge. Arrow dodge. 659. 200 weak point attack. First, a series of dodges appeared. A total of more than 10 or 20 normal attacks, only 4 or 5 hits, and only knocked off half of the opponent's health. This damage is too low. Qin Feng was a bit upset because he couldn't be invisible and didn't have a higher level of fix. There were a lot of damage multiplication areas that he couldn't get. Not only that, his hit rate was also a bit touching. Although the Eye of Destiny is a bloodline skill, it is an active skill after all, and it cannot be used in the Abyss world. As a result, Qin Feng's hit correction was only 4466, 17% in this state, facing the 47 level weird human figure monster in front of him. The final hit rate was only about 1/5 to 1/4. It seems that this guy's dodge rate has reached more than 99%, a level 47 player. Its attributes cannot be too bad, and while Qin Feng launched nearly 20 normal attacks in an instant, the figure seemed to try to raise his hand and release some healing skills. Unfortunately, under the effect of Qin Feng's Abyss slow curse, this guy couldn't release any skills at all. After being attacked dozens of times by Qin Feng, he was successfully killed. You killed I Wanna Pick a Lot of Cotton L471525616. The figure's health bar was cleared. Qin Feng found that he didn't gain any experience points, nor did he give any evolution points, and he couldn't even use the Hand of Greed. But this guy actually exploded a strengthening stone, which surprised Qin Feng a little. Is the explosion rate of this thing so high? Oh, right, in my last life, the price of this kind of forging materials plummeted by 30% for a few days. Could it be because someone entered the Abyss world and got a lot of materials? Later, the price went up again because the lifespan was enough and the extra materials were stored up. In Qin Feng's last life, although the World Spine had never been killed, the Abyss Demon Eye was killed. Qin Feng had a little impression that it was killed by the strong men from all over the world, and one of the killers was Tang Jun from Daxia. It is very likely that Tang Jun has entered the Abyss world. If this is the case, the price fluctuations of forging materials in the last life have a reasonable explanation. But Qin Feng still has a question. What exactly is this monster in the Abyss world? Watching the shadow of the man who said, I want to pick a lot of cotton, split open, fell towards the bottom of the sea basin, and disappeared in the gray fog. Qin Feng was thoughtful. No conclusion can be drawn for the time being. Keep looking for monsters. Qin Feng picked up the strengthening stone, and found that in this Abyss world, he couldn't even open the greedy space, because the ability of the greedy space is also a non-numerical effect. It's disgusting. It seems that with the Abyss Shrine, the first thing to do is to abyss the greedy hand. This way, not only can the greedy space be used, but also the efficiency of brushing treasures can be greatly improved. It is worth mentioning. In this Abyss world, Qin Feng found that except for the inviolable affix, his other upper affixes and upper resistances were all in a gray and unavailable state. Similarly, he just attacked the 47th level human figure monster, and there was no upper affix related to anything. It can be seen from this that in the Abyss world, just like around the pure holy monument, the upper affixes will never take effect. In a gray mist, Qin Feng quickly found a bunch of human figure monsters. These human figure monsters all look like former players, but the levels are completely different, and there are even those who are less than level 10. This type of monster is very weak, and Qin Feng can kill it with just one blow. Or in other words, as long as it is not over level 30, it cannot withstand any attack from Qin Feng. As for those over level 40, Qin Feng needs to spend some time to deal with them. The main reason is that the opponent has dodge. Some have shields to avoid damage, some are very fast, and some have super high shields. At this time, Qin Feng realized how useful his shield disintegration order is. It's a pity that it is disabled in the Abyss world. Fortunately, all this did not slow down Qin Feng's monster killing speed, because for Qin Feng, even if these players cannot be killed instantly, it is just a little troublesome. It can be killed in 3 seconds at most, and the higher the level and the harder it is to kill the monster, the higher the explosion rate. The main thing that can limit Qin Feng's monster killing speed is the process of finding monsters. Suddenly, Qin Feng wandered around in this area and saw a figure again. The code name above his head is I Want to Pick Lots and Lots of Cotton. But this time this guy's level is actually 53. It's him again. Qin Feng looked at the dark-skinned young man, a little surprised. If the level 47 humanoid monster he encountered at the beginning looked a bit like a priest, then the level 53 humanoid monster in front of him was obviously a warrior, holding a huge curved shield in his hand, which almost protected 2/3 of his body. Different levels, different numbers behind. Qin Feng suddenly had an idea. This monster in the Abyss world, could it be the corpses of the players who died in every reincarnation? If so, wouldn't it be possible for me to see my own humanoid monster? When Qin Feng had this idea, his scalp was numb for a moment. But it is still unclear whether this guess is true. There is a good way to prove it. I will go back to the Magic City or the ruins of Zhonghai City first, and then switch to the Abyss world. If the guess is true, then I will see many familiar player codes in the place where players gather. Qinfeng is currently in the deepest part of the Atlantic Ocean, where there are not many human figures and monsters. But if it is in the ruined city, the situation will be different. So Qinfeng's mind moved, first killed the body of Cotton Brother in front of him, and then operated. As he operated the Abyss Bracelet, the surrounding gray fog slowly dissipated, and the familiar deep seawater gathered again. The strong deep sea pressure made Qinfeng realize that he had returned to the game world. He quickly found the gray chicken and the mermaid crystal ball, and returned to the hideout of the Evil Spirit Academy with the teleportation stone. Then, switch, Abyss World. Qinfeng remained invisible and came to the ground area of the Evil Spirit Academy. Originally, there was a thriving and peaceful atmosphere here, but when Qinfeng switched to the Abyss, waves of gray fog spread around. The Evil Spirit Academy is still the terrain of the Evil Spirit Academy, but it is just the dilapidated ruins at the beginning. As expected, just as Qinfeng guessed, in this Evil Spirit Academy are the entire ruins of the Demon City. A large number of human figures and monsters appeared. When Qinfeng switched over, he found that he was immediately noticed by countless human figures and monsters around him. I'm awesome. These are all level 40 or 50 players, and there are also level 60. Qinfeng saw that there was a level 62 player in the sky who looked like a teenager, codenamed 17-year-old Genius Revenge Boy, and he looked very familiar. It was Chu Nantian, the only hidden profession, Dead Corpse Wizard. However, the guy now has white eyes and rotten body, completely looks like a monster, and has no wisdom or consciousness, floating in the air, which is quite terrifying. Qinfeng has a deep impression of this guy. After all, in the previous life, it was this guy who had been chasing the ghost spirit, and finally helped the Daxia official to kill the ghost spirit. Qinfeng remembered that not long before he was killed in the previous life. The level of this boy was 60. After I died, he was promoted by 2 levels, and then died in the test of civilization, sublimation. By the way, this guy has not been able to set foot in the Land of Order, because this kid entered the Godforsaken game a year after the Godforsaken game came. He developed a step late, and basically could only eat the tail gas of others. He was able to develop to level 60 because others escorted him all the way. And in this life, the ghost spirit directly killed Chunan Tian at the beginning, so that this kid couldn't even enter the Godforsaken game. And at this time, Qinfeng only had time to think about it. And the human figures and monsters around him rushed towards him, just like being in a zombie tide. All the human figures and monsters looked like rotten corpses, which was extremely terrifying. Abyss Withering Curse. Qinfeng raised his hand and released the Withering Curse directly, reducing the basic attack power of all the human figures and monsters around by 399%. As for the Slow and Silence curses, they were not needed. They were single target skills and could not be used in this situation. There are so many monsters. If I can throw a Shadow Blade, won't they all be killed? Qinfeng's scalp was numb, but now he could only launch ordinary attacks. Even if he summoned the Abyss Puppet, he could only launch ordinary attacks. Try to kill Chunantian first. This kid is at a high level. Maybe he will drop something good. The death wings behind Qinfeng spread out, taking him to fly at a very fast speed towards the genius boy of the Dead Spirit Corpse Witch profession, because many of the human figures and monsters in the field are at a high level. This allowed the human figures and monsters in the field to keep up with Qinfeng's speed. Various long-range skills and physical elements were launched towards Qinfeng. Rollover. Among these skills, there are many epic and legendary skills, and because of the Abyss, it has been upgraded to a higher level. For the current Qinfeng, they are all quite threatening, because Qinfeng soon discovered under the violent attack that the effect of dodge and restore full blood attached to his mythical gloves was also invalid in the Abyss. Although Qinfeng's dodge rate is extremely high, but under the dense attacks, Qinfeng was still hit by some. If it weren't for his inviolable affix, he would have been completely controlled. Fortunately, under the effect of Abyss Withering Curse, most of the attacks launched by these monsters on Qinfeng could not cause damage, but would restore Qinfeng's blood. Unfortunately, soon, someone in the monster group released some kind of group purification skills and actually purified Qinfeng's Withering Curse. This caused Qinfeng to continue to receive hundreds of points of damage, although the damage was not high. The number was large and the frequency was fast. If it continued, Qinfeng would be bitten to death. When the skills of the human-shaped monsters were abyssalized by the Grade Plus 1, only the original mythical purification skills were needed to purify the ancient Abyss Withering Curse. Fortunately, the effect of Shadow Arc was still there. The passives of the profession and bloodline were not disabled, which was consistent with the outside world. This finally guaranteed Qinfeng's survivability. Qinfeng spread his death wings and began to attack the rotten corpse of the 17-year-old genius Revenge Boy. The shield on this guy was full. With a shield value of more than 18 million, it can be seen that his health was more than 8 million. Slow, silent. Qinfeng raised his hand and cast 2 single curses, making the 17-year-old genius Revenge Boy almost unable to move. But when Qinfeng launched a normal attack, the Judgment Blade in his hand slashed across the shield of the young man, and found that half of the damage was actually rebounded. And this guy also had the attribute of recovering from attack. It's worthy of being a level 62 corpse. Of course, after all, That guy was almost unable to move, under the siege of countless human figures and monsters around him. Qin Feng broke the shield of Chu Nantian's corpse, bit by bit, and at the same time continued to suck blood to replenish his gray blood bar that was deducted. At this moment, there were many lights blooming from the corpse of Chu Nantian. It turned out that other human figures and monsters around him continued to stack shields for this guy, and instantly restored them to full. Oh my. Qin Feng was dumbfounded. Can't kill at all. It's not that Qin Feng is too weak, it's that he is too restricted in the Abyss world. He now has too few skills available, and can only rely on normal attacks. Many of the skills of the surrounding human-shaped monsters have been strengthened by the Abyss. As the strength of the two has decreased, Qin Feng is really helpless. Qin Feng took the time to glance around. He found that there were many human-shaped monsters around at levels 50 and 60. Level 30 and 40 were crawling and walking all over the ground. There were also many human-shaped monsters flying in the sky. There are really many human-shaped monsters with the same codename. That is, they were the same player in their previous lives, but from different reincarnations of the Blue Star civilization. Therefore, the same player may have different codenames or different professions, and the final level and strength they develop to are also completely different. Including Chu Nantian, Qin Feng saw that there was a revenge boy with the same codename in the crowd, but his level was only 41. It seemed that he was completely killed at level 41. Awesome. I can't afford to offend you. Retreat first. Qin Feng looked at the shadows of more and more people approaching from a distance, and his scalp was a little numb. This is much more exciting than watching a zombie movie. The most important thing is, after being bombarded for just 2 seconds, Qin Feng's inviolability affix dropped from 845 points to just over 200 points. If he doesn't leave now, he will be infinitely controlled, and then he won't be able to leave. You are awesome. Qin Feng looked at the 17-year-old genius revenge boy, Elf62, who had his shield fully restored, and felt a little unwilling. But there was nothing he could do. No wonder there are so many monsters in this ruined city. This is simply not something a human can kill. For countless reincarnations, the bodies of the dead strong have gathered together, and the combined combat power is too terrifying. The death wings behind Qin Feng spread out, taking him quickly to the distant horizon. It can be inferred that the conditions for entering this abyss world are not impossible for ordinary players to meet. For example, Tang Jun in the previous life, and perhaps more players who participated in killing the Abyss Demoni, have all entered. However, in places like the Demon City ruins, where a large number of corpses of powerful people gather, even if others come in, they can't spawn monsters at all. You can only choose sparsely populated places to spawn monsters, because he is in combat. Qin Feng cannot switch to leave the Abyss world, so he has to distance himself and leave the battle first. However, just when Qin Feng was about to fly out of the Demon City ruins in the Abyss world, suddenly, a wild and fierce shout came from the back. Is this Brother Beidou? You are dead. Known as Brother Beidou, arrived at the Land of Order in the previous life, but finally came back to live and die with Blue Star. Obviously, he also died in the previous reincarnation, but Qin Feng didn't know whether this Brother Beidou was the one who died in the previous life before Qin Feng turned around. He felt a terrifying suction force covering his whole body. The only 200 or so inviolable affixes left on his body were quickly shattered and deducted in just 1 second. Qin Feng was unable to leave the influence of the suction force and was sucked back. With the perception of the Umbra, Qin Feng could feel the corpse of Brother Beidou in the back, wearing steel armor but rotten all over, punched out and formed a fist-wind vortex, which released powerful control and suction force towards the surrounding 5 kilometers. After deducting more than 200 inviolable affixes from Qin Feng was directly sucked to the center of the fist-wind vortex. Then, a punch. The rotten corpse of Brother Beidou, with gray eyes, clenched his fist and punched Qin Feng, who was sucked. This punch ignored defense, elemental resistance, shields, and dodges. This is Beidou's professional passive, and this is only the effect of the first 3 professional advancements. And Qin Feng's inviolable affix has been completely cleared, and he can no longer be immune to control. He was sucked to the center by the fist-wind vortex that swept several kilometers facing that punch. Qin Feng had no way to avoid it. Boom! A punch that broke the sky and split the earth. It hit Qin Feng's head firmly. 174 million weak point hit. This damage, Qin Feng took a breath of cold air. Qin Feng's current defense and damage reduction have reached an extremely terrifying level. Just now, when he was besieged by so many people in the ruins, the damage numbers that occasionally appeared above Qin Feng's head were only 3 digits at most. And now, this Beidou brother's punch is really well deserved. After all, this is the 72nd level Beidou brother. In Qin Feng's opinion, it should be the guy who arrived at the Land of Order in the previous life and came back to live and die with Blue Star. Once upon a time, Qin Feng might have bet with this Beidou brother. That guy probably never thought that even he, who had developed to level 72, could only knock off half of Qin Feng's blood with 1 punch. And this is actually very exaggerated. Qin Feng quickly calculated in reverse. If this punch is to deal this damage, the basic damage has reached 370 billion. What is the concept? In comparison, It is Qianfeng's full combo points are instant kills, and the basic direct damage is Qi 200 billion. If the second instant kill is connected, the throat-cutting damage will be 5 trillion. But you have to know, Beidou Brothers' profession is internal boxer, and the most important source of damage is internal injury. You are already dead. Qianfeng seemed to hear such a voice. The rotting body of Brother Beidou threw a devastating punch and then turned and left. Without the protection of the inviolable affix, the internal injury effect of the opponent's punch was solid. Fell on Qianfeng. Boom! A gray blood bar several times longer than the blood bar appeared on Qianfeng's blood bar, which meant that the internal injury had already erupted. But because the shadow arc was not effective for the time being, at this time, Qianfeng was still tightly sucked and controlled by the Fistwind Vortex, unable to make any movements. Naturally, there was no way to suck blood. Awesome! Qianfeng could only sigh. And 3 seconds later, the effective time limit of the shadow arc ended. Boom! Qianfeng's blood bar was directly emptied. A14. 88 million internal injury erupted. Qianfeng was killed. However, at this moment, Qianfeng was not in a hurry, and was even calculating the damage of the opponent's punch, just when he was controlled. Qianfeng had already activated the Abyss Gaze curse and saw most of the attributes of the 72 level Beidou brother in front of him. I see. After this guy came to the Abyss world and became a monster, about 70% of his active skills were disabled, and the remaining 30% of his skills were abyssalized. So the skills he could use were stronger than when he was alive. And after the 4th career advancement, 1 damage reduction attribute can be ignored. After the 5th career advancement, another damage reduction can be ignored. A total of 2 damage reduction attributes can be ignored. But it is worth mentioning that Qianfeng's reincarnation, gained from the God of Skeletons, 90% damage reduction, is permanently effective. So what Brother Beidou can ignore is 68% and 50% damage reduction. After ignoring these 2 damage reduction attributes, the total damage is 5 times increased. Therefore, the basic damage of Brother Beidou's punch is not 370 billion, but 74 billion, and the multiple of its internal injury explosion is 12 times the direct damage, which is 888 billion. Although it is not as good as Qianfeng's instant destruction and throat-cutting damage, the damage level is already very terrifying. After all, it has reached 1/10 of Qianfeng's highest burst. It's really strong to have 1/10 of my damage. Qianfeng is really not Versailles. After all, even if it is only 1/10 of his current damage, it can already kill some low-level legendary monsters in seconds. Of course, the reason why this Beidou brother corpse only took action now is because it has been monkey playing. When the opponent Qianfeng appeared, it began to give itself a state, and various damage-enhancing states were released for several seconds. Then it swung out a Fistwind Vortex, controlled Qianfeng and sucked him back, and finally burst out that punch. Compared with Qianfeng's crispness, there is still a big gap, and this is the combat power of a level 72 strong man who has reached the Land of Order. When Qianfeng was in the Abyss world, was suppressed and even could not use invisibility, he was finally able to kill Qianfeng. However, 3, 2, 1, rise! Qianfeng's body, which had exploded, suddenly gathered together again 3 seconds after his death. The skill Death Praise from the bloodline of the Deathwing Angel took effect. 1 layer of Death Praise was consumed, and then Qianfeng was resurrected on the spot. When Qianfeng's body gathered, the death energy on his body surrounded him and he stood up, and the death wings behind him spread out again. The body of Brother Beidou, who had turned around and left, suddenly stopped and froze. And when it turned back and wanted to continue to attack Qianfeng, goodbye. I'll kill you next time and get good stuff. Qianfeng left a word, opened the Abyss bracelet on the spot, and left the Abyss world. If it's a one-on-one duel, I still have a great chance of winning. Unfortunately, there are too many corpses of strong men in this place. Qianfeng shook his head and returned to the sky above the ruins of the Demon City in the God-forsaken continent. It seems that he has to go to the remote areas of the Abyss world to spawn monsters. After spawning the Abyss Shrine, he will abyssify the key skills and then return to these monster gathering places to spawn monsters. As long as the skills are complete, it will not be too difficult for Qianfeng to spawn these human figure monsters. Thinking about it this way, even if other players develop later and abyssify some skills, they can't spawn monsters in such a dense area of corpse monsters. This is why there are so many corpse monsters in these areas. No one has ever come here to spawn. I don't know how many times the corpses of strong men who have reincarnated have been transformed into monsters and gathered in these ruins. If it's all sharks, how many resources will it take? What others can't do, Qianfeng can do. It's just that you need to get the first Abyss Shrine first, so that Qianfeng can turn the Hand of Greed into the Abyss, increasing the explosion rate by 20 times in the Abyss world, or even higher. Then let the Abyss puppet, every week and every day, keep killing monsters. And when you kill 5 Abyss Shrines, Qianfeng's combat power in the Abyss world will be able to take off. However, the explosion rate of the Abyss Shrine is not high. If I go to kill it myself, the efficiency is not very good. I still have to wait for the puppet to arrive in the Coconut Country before letting the puppet go in to kill monsters. Qianfeng was not in a hurry. He planned to kill the first World Spine first. It is not an easy task to find the World Spine. Fortunately, Qianfeng had a purpose, so he asked Big Eyes, and this question got a surprising answer. The first world spine can be entered in many places. It is in the water with very strong whispering energy. If you keep diving into the deep water, you can reach the location of the first world spine. There are 5 similar places in the world. What a coincidence. Qianfeng just knew one of these places. That was the place where he killed an epic giant octopus boss before the polluted river outside the ruins of Zhanghai City. 3. Word chapter. Please give me some power for love, Tat.